This happens 10,000 more times. Am I going to continue to let myself be upset about it? Or is this just part of the morning? Okay.
Right.
You know,
You mentioned several interesting things here, talking about understanding thresholds in terms of like, hey, I need to do this by this point so it's not such a hassle. What are some things that you 10 years from now, what advice would you give yourself now?
most things don't matter. And that's not some apathetic, nothing matters in life or anything like that. The things you let yourself get so inconvenienced by and upset about, they really don't matter. I think if I could sum it up in one sentence, it's not about you. It's not about you. And I'm telling my members that all the time. In terms of sticking with things, I can't just go be more patient with my kids because I want to be a more patient person. It's that because that hasn't worked. Like the definition of insanity, right? That hasn't worked up to this point. So there has to be something else. For me, it's not about me anymore being more patient. It's about what kind of man do I want to be for my daughter when it's time for her to start looking for a significant other.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Emotional Man Podcast. I'm really excited to have Justin Cutler on the show with us today. Justin, if you don't mind introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about you, your family, your company in reverse order. Let's start with your company.
Sure. Zeph, I thank you so much for having me. And I hope that I can add some value to everything, to your audience, listeners, all of it. So my company is called Empower Inc. It is an online coaching business. Really, it's health and fitness, but it's packaged in accountability. So this is on the tail end of just over a 13-year career in the fitness industry, in the physical gym space. Okay, quick bullet points. I started off as a personal trainer and then an independent contractor, then a general manager and a head coach of a CrossFit gym, and then a coach of coaches. So I had about 6 coaches underneath me that I used to coach and develop them. I was still coaching myself as well, but like my own clientele, but I was coaching them and developing them. And that ended almost a year. Actually, June 30th will be a year ago. I just wanted to branch out and do my own thing. It's called Empower Inc. Empower Inc. is really about getting people to get out of their own way. There's no shortage of information. We all carry a computer in our pockets. And that's not really the reason that we don't get to where we want to go in life anymore, even though we still blame that a lot. Oh, I don't know what to do. So you can find out. But really it's about addressing limiting beliefs, things that maybe you were taught to believe growing up. Like I have members that they were, as kids, told that they would never amount to anything. And a lot of times, like these limiting beliefs that we don't directly face and challenge, we're not even aware that we have them. And then we're wondering why we're yo-yo dieting, why we have failed relationships. And I am perceived a lot as just a personal trainer. And I don't love using the term life coach because I think there's 15-year-old life coaches out there that have done nothing in life. And yeah, you don't really have anything to teach me, but it's really all encompassing. So it's centered around community, it's centered around education, and really around connection. A big part of what I do is I connect with every single member on a one-on-one basis, whether that's every day, depending on the level of membership they have. And then obviously I am educating them on how to take care of their bodies and their minds, because I believe that true change comes from the inside out. And that's really part of my story, which I know we'll get into. I've run the gamut of extreme dieting and starvation to I grew up an overweight, unathletic kid and the attention that came from that. And so I've had a myriad of injuries. And so I'm always teaching from this place of, hey, you're really heading down this road of an eating disorder. I had one. And let me guide you out of that because it doesn't end well, or like that kind of stuff. But really, I'm really big on in Empower Inc. talking about your daily non-negotiables, just because until our actions get to the place where they are non-negotiable, they're always going to be doing this, always going to be going up and down. I've been a victim of that, or not a victim, but I've suffered from that, I guess is the right way to say it. I could talk all day about it, but yeah. Anyway, empowering. Yeah. So it's accountability wrapped up in health and fitness is the best way that's my elevator pitch, so to speak.
I love it. I love it. And so that's a snapshot of your company. We'll dive deeper into that. Now, share with me a little about your family, because on this show, we just really love picking apart the challenges and obstacles that business owners face in finding this balance between providing a living, pursuing occupational dreams, while also nurturing, providing for our families. So tell us a little bit about the family front. What's that looking like for you?
Yeah. So I have 2 young kids under the age of 7, and my wife, we've been married it'll be 11 years this year. It's both been the best thing and the hardest thing I've ever done is raise a family. I thought that I was doing pretty good with selfishness, and then I got married, and then I thought I was doing better with selfishness, and then I had kids. And so it's always causing me to think. I think it's C.S. Lewis talks about humility as it's not about thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. I know that's a pretty common quote, but that is in my face all the time, just thinking about their needs and not putting necessarily theirs above my own all the time, because I think that can be a trap we can fall into as parents too,
Right.
is that you get lost in your kids and then you forget that you're an individual and that you were an individual before you had kids. And also they're looking up to you for how to do this life thing. And so I can't sit here and say, pursue your dreams and work hard if I'm not pursuing my dreams and working hard. I can't sit here and say, hey, you need to take care of yourself and prioritize yourself if I'm not doing that. I'm a big proponent in not pouring, or you can't pour from an empty cup. And so, in terms of what that looks like with my family, I love my family. We spend a lot of time together. We're very intentional about that. My wife is a very relational person as well. So, we're very active. We're hardly at home. But yeah, what more can be said than it's the best and hardest thing I've ever done in my
Right.
life, but I
For
love it. I
sure.
wouldn't trade it for anything.
So walk me through what is a day in the life of Justin Cutler look like in terms of what does your schedule look like? What are you do spending a lot of your time at work? What does your time with your family look like? Talk about your average work day and then maybe your average week.
Yeah. So, my wife works in the medical field and she works 4 10-hour days. And so she is gone out of the house pretty early. Most mornings, it's me getting the kids ready. She takes our youngest to daycare a couple days a week. But I am up at 4:30 a.m. every day. That's one of my non-negotiables. That, full transparency, that's been for the last 2 months because I was really tired of being inconsistent with myself. And my mantra lately has been your level of success will never exceed your level of self development. And as a leader, like with my kids and my members, I can't take them anywhere where I haven't been myself. I can't encourage them to be more consistent with stuff if I'm not. And so
Right.
that's just a little bit of context into why it's a non-negotiable for me to be up at 4:30. So I get up, my little watch buzzes, and I get downstairs, I drink some water, and I'll drink some coffee. I'll either do some reading or listen to some motivational stuff for maybe 20 minutes. And then one of my other non-negotiables is to be out in my garage working out by 5:15 a.m. because my kids are usually up by 6:30. Those little 30-pound alarm clocks go to bed, or they wake up at the same time, no matter what time you put them to bed. I don't have a lot of time. And so I get up and I don't even have much workout stuff at my house, believe it or not, being in the industry as long as I have been. And I'm usually doing some kind of calisthenics kettlebell thing. I'm a Christian, so I'm listening to a lot of praise music. I love the combination of that. Like I'm filling up my body and my soul at the same time is how I think about it.
Ah,
And which is it's been really nice. And then I go right into my group, Empower Inc., my private Facebook group is where I host it right now. And I go live because I one thing I've really been researching and experiencing lately, Zeph, is your frequency is what you frequently see. And I don't know if you are familiar with it's called like the Hertz emotional chart, like the emotional frequency chart, where like at the bottom is like guilt, shame, and all that. And at the top is like gratitude and love. I have experienced how movement will get me to that place better than anything else. In fact, I just did 50 burpees before our calls because I could kind of raise my frequency up a little bit. I know it's crazy, but anyway, I'll go into that later. But so I go out there and I go live. And a lot of times I'm writing the message that I'm going to share to my group while I'm working out. I just trust that it's going to come to me. I plan my coaching calls a lot more methodically than that. But this is just a little 5 minute, just because I think back to the reason I do that is I think back to when I wasn't up early enough for the sunrise, but how beneficial that's been for me. And so if I can, I go outside every day. So if I can show my group the sunrise until you get up and get see the sunrise yourself, here it is. And then I'll share something it's 5 minutes or less. I'll share an inspirational message. It's usually that deep soul work. So I'll do that. And then I'll come in and get my kids ready. And that's the morning. So that's until about 7:30 or 8.
talk to me
Yeah.
about your kind of morning routine with your family. After you've got up 4:30, you've worked out, you've engaged with your community, and
Mhm.
then talk to me about your morning routine with your family.
Yeah, there's usually some snuggles because they're still young and I'm trying to take advantage of that time. We'll sit on the couch for a few minutes. I don't like to rush them right into anything. So I'll give them 10, 15, 20 minutes to wake up. And it sounds cliche, but I really try to make sure the first words out of my mouth besides good morning is I love you. I'm always like, I love you. And I just want that to be ingrained. No matter where they go in life, they know that their dad loves them. Like no matter what, because they've heard it 1,000 times. And so we'll snuggle for a little bit. And then my son, who's the youngest, he's all I'll pull him out of his crib and I'll try to be all tender and he'll start spouting off his breakfast order. So usually I'm cooking his breakfast pretty early on and my wife's because she's got to go early. And then my daughter, she will wake up and then she usually has some homework. Like she goes to elementary school. So I'll help her with her homework. It's just like reading and math and stuff like that. So we'll sit and we'll talk. And then if there's time left over, her and I both love doing art together. And so a lot of times, like she just finished this butterfly painting for her grandma for Mother's Day. And I do art on the side. So right now I'm working on Spider-Man piece. So I'll chip away at that and just something for us to share because a couple days a week by that point, my son and my wife are already gone. They're already up the door. And so it's just me and my daughter. And then, yeah, I drop her off at the before school program and I go about my day. But I really try to have all my socials, all that stuff done before they're up because I can tend to be the guy that's on my phone too much. A lot of it is actively working, but I don't need to be doing that. I don't get a lot of time with them. And so I'm not perfect with it, but I really try to put my phone on do not disturb, face down. Everything can wait until they're all gone. And then I have all day to do the stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that's my morning routine with my kids.
Yeah, it sounds like some incredible practices. What do you find that if you were to experience any friction in the morning, any challenges or maybe problems? I think getting up, getting everyone ready at the door, especially with little kids, there's just
Mhm.
a lot of room for frustration. Kids are seeking for connection or they just want to do something other than getting ready for school. Have you ever experienced any kind of friction in the morning and how have you addressed that in the past?
It's almost every day, but in the dumbest stuff that's really not worth me getting upset about, and yet I still struggle with it. Like it's constant WrestleMania because like my kids are very physical kids and like they love it, but they both, even my daughter loves to wrestle and all of that. They're 4 years apart too. There's a lot of physical altercations. They're not like they love each other and they're nice to each other, but it's a lot of, hey, give that to him. It's his toy. Get your own toy. Like just young parent stuff like that, honestly.
Yeah.
I have to stick to strict because I let them watch a little bit of TV in the morning sometimes, but if I don't turn it off by 7:30, then it's usually a fight to get out the door too. And I have grown a lot in time management, but it's something I'm still actively growing in. And that doesn't help my growth in time management because then I get stressed out at them and rush them out the door. And then they're rushed when all I had to do was just turn the TV off at 7:30. And so it's just stuff that like in the moment, you know how it is. You're like, oh, so frustrated. But then afterwards, you're just thinking to yourself, like, why was I so upset about that? And that was all me. That was all on me. It's funny. My kids indirectly have taught me a lot about personal responsibility too, in that way. Like I'm all frustrated and flustered and in my pride, I want to blame them because I had to ask them 6 times to put their shoes on and then wrestle my son like a baby alligator to put his shoes on finally because he wouldn't. When all I had to do was ask him to do that much earlier. I didn't have to wait until I was in a hurry to do that. Because then, if I'm hurried, instead I'm going, "Hey, buddy, put your shoes on," instead of "Hey, put your shoes on, we got to go," then he's all flustered. That's my fault. And so it's just back to your question. It's just little dumb stuff like that, like stuff that can totally be avoided. But yeah, there's usually something. But it's one of those things where it's like, if this happens 10,000 more times, am I going to continue to let myself be upset about it, or is this just part of the morning? Okay,
Right.
you know.
You mentioned several interesting things here, talking about understanding thresholds in terms like, hey, I need to do this by this point, so it's not such a hassle. What are some things that the you 10 years from now, what advice would you give yourself now?
Most things don't matter. And that's not some apathetic, nothing matters in life or anything like that. The things you let yourself get so inconvenienced by and upset about, they really don't matter. I think if I could sum it up in one sentence, it's not about you. It's not about you. And I'm telling my members that all the time. In terms of sticking with things, I can't just go be more patient with my kids because I want to be a more patient person. It's that because that hasn't worked. Like the definition of insanity, right? That hasn't worked up to this point. So there has to be something else. For me, it's not about me anymore being more patient. It's about what kind of man do I want to be for my daughter when it's time for her to start looking for a significant other. I don't want this impatient, short person that's always apologizing but never changing their actions. I don't want that to be the norm for my kids. And for my son, I don't want him to think it's okay to talk to people that way. And it makes me emotional. But when I think about it myself, I think do harder, try harder. When I think about how it affects them and the kind of man I want to be for them, the kind of man that my wife can respect and not because I'm part of a lot of dad groups in Facebook, and it's wow. We have our own issues, but holy cow, there's some tumultuous marriages out there. And I want to be someone that my wife is proud of, that I don't want her to feel like she has a third kid. And that's not sexy. People always complain about intimacy problems. It's like, well, are you acting like the third kid or are you acting like the leader of the home? That's not sexy.
Yeah.
And you want to be with your mom. Come on, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not about you. If I had to wrap it up in one sentence, it's about them. And I love Wes Watson. I love what he says, be the source of what you seek. That's one of the main things I've learned in coaching and why I've stuck with it for so long. I cannot tell you how many days, and this ties into the morning routine thing. I cannot tell you how many days where I'm like having a bad day and I'm fantasizing about having a cubicle job where I could just be by myself and be in my feelings. But I had no choice. I had to go out and be the source of positivity for someone else and tell them good job. And every single time after that session, I felt better. Why? Because I was focused not on myself. I was saying, how are you doing? How is your day going? Great job. You're doing, and a lot of times I would come alongside them and their struggles. So I had to forget about mine and pour into them. And so, yeah, it's not about you. And if I want to be more patient, I need to exemplify that patience. I need to be patient. I need to show them what patience is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's hard, man. Like
Yeah.
I've had so many, and I know all you parents out there, you're probably going to, I know I'm not alone, but so many times where I feel like I'm the worst dad in the world because I'm so impatient. And my son, for example, I mean, he's going to be 3 next month. And here he is. He has these big emotions, the 3-year-old thing, but he has a tiny toolbox to deal with it.
Yeah.
And here I am, a full grown adult in his mid 30s, being impatient with him. It's like, I'm supposed to be the one giving him the tools. But back to my non negotiables, I can't do that as well if I'm not right. And so it's this not balancing act, but it's because some people, they completely forget about themselves because they have to be there for their kids. I get it. But again, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so that's why I don't love getting up at 4:30 a.m. I'm never pumped to get up, but I'm not just doing that for my own physical health. That's part of it. But I'm doing it so that by the time they get downstairs, I'm at my highest frequency.
Mhm.
I'm already prayed up. I'm already worked out. I've already conquered myself for the day. I've already stacked a win. Like I'm feeling good. In fact, when my wife comes downstairs, I have to tone it down a little bit usually because I'm like caffeinated. I'm caffeinated. I'm worked out, and she's just waking up. I'm always like, sorry, wake up, drink some water, and then we'll talk. Yeah, yeah. I keep saying it, but it's not about you is the main lesson. It's about them.
Love it. Okay, so you get the kids off to school, the wife's off to work, and then what does your day consist of, and what kind of builds up between the time that your kids leave and your kids come back?
Yeah, so it depends on the day. It's different every day, but the same every week, if that makes sense. Mondays, I'm with my son, actually. He's with me all day, which I love because when I was his age, I was with my dad too because he was on disability at the time. So it's a cool parallel. I do personal training with him at his warehouse. So we'll go do a boxing session. And I love that my son gets to see that. And then I also work very part-time at a shop called BA Shields. Shout out to Pat, Cody, and Andy. They are firefighters and they make the protective coverings for the NBA masks.
Okay.
And so I do the art for them.
Cool.
And so I'll do that for anywhere from 1 to 3 hours. While we're out there, we go to Costco and then I come back and put my son down and then I prepare for my own call because I have my weekly coaching call in Empower Inc. on Mondays at 4:30. And then after that, long story short, I'll go get my daughter and then we'll be home for the night. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's training my buddy. And then it's building stuff for Empower Inc. It's reaching out to my one-on-one clients because they get a text from me Monday through Friday, a lot of times on Sundays too. How you doing? What do you need from me? I'm working with them, coaching them on their mindset and stuff. I'm recording content. I'm building PDFs, just building stuff for Empower Inc. I'm getting ready to launch my corporate wellness program that I've built for my first location. And so I'm building a lot of stuff for that too, like eating out guides and just content material, extracurricular stuff for them. So I'm doing a lot of that. I mean, that's pretty much it. And I'll take some movement breaks. I'll go for a walk. I'll do some burpees. And Wednesdays, I have a small group session that comes to my house or we go to the park for that, which I love. I love going to the park and coaching people because my style of coaching is very minimalistic. And I love showing people you don't need a lot of time, space, or equipment to get it in. And let me show you. And then, yeah, that's pretty much the same. And then my wife is off on Fridays. Her office is closed Fridays. And I still coach one of my members, my friend, Ricky, on Fridays. And then that day I kind of leave open. It really depends. Sometimes we'll spend a day doing family stuff. Other times my wife will take my son to the gym and the gym that she goes to, and then I'll work. Honestly, man, I'm still in the ground level phases of Empower and building that up. I'll be fully honest with you. It's because I know that I'm really good at what I do, but I am right in the ground level, like Jeff Bezos selling his first couple books stage. And so sometimes I find it's hard to articulate because I'm like, I'm here to help people. That's what Empower Inc. is. I'm here to, I know what it's like to be out of shape and just alone in your struggles and not know what to do with it.
Now, I have found between a lot of the business owners we work with and just people we've talked with, as you go out through a lot of day, you can pick up a lot of emotional energy. You go through a lot of different emotions, frustrations, exhilaration, and then you have this transition phase from working on the company to starting to work in your family. What did that transition phase look like for you? What are some of the challenges you faced? And describe some of the frustrations
Yeah.
that pop up.
The past can be a really good teacher. And I mentioned that I was the general manager of a CrossFit gym for about a year. At the time, I thought I wanted to run a gym, like a physical brick and mortar gym. And so, as far as I was concerned, I was pursuing my dream. We were freshly into our new house that we're still in, and we were going to have my daughter. And I pretty much lost the first year of my daughter's life to that gym. It was my choice. Like, I chose to do that. It was my immaturity and my telling myself this isn't going to be forever and all of that. And also by back to, you want to talk about limiting beliefs. Like I had this limiting belief that that's just how business goes. Like sometimes you lose yourself in it. And I've since learned, no, it's just poor time management and poor priorities. Honestly, I lost pretty much the entire first year of my daughter's life to that place. And that's time I'll never get back. One of the main things that motivates me, and you know, talk about motivation. First of all, I don't really rely on motivation anymore, I think is the irony of motivation because it just always fails me. But something that really keeps my feet to the fire is thinking about my old self, like you said. And I just refuse to be the person that says something to the effect of, I tried to start this thing, but I didn't do everything. Or I started this successful company, but I really wish I wouldn't have spent so much time with that because I don't even know my kids. My kids don't know me. And I felt like that year, as hard as it was a gift from God, of this is what your reality could be like. If you are running this business solely for honestly your own pride and your own ego, and you're not thinking about your family. And so now, again, I struggle sometimes with being on my phone, but it's back to the non-negotiables because I will negotiate with myself. It's non-negotiable that my phone goes on do not disturb after 8 p.m. So I can spend that hour with my wife, hour and a half, however long we're up. How are you doing? Because we just got done wrestling our kids to bed. So it's like, how are you? Haven't seen you all day. And really thinking about the reality, so many people are asleep at the wheel and they don't think about these things. There's this stranger right now, my daughter's teacher, that spends way more time with my daughter than I do. And there's this saying, the days are long, but the years are short. I think we all agree with that, but do we live like that? It takes intentionality and it takes understanding you will never get that time back. Sometimes you're going to have to live through some very painful lessons like I did. But I hope that for those of you listening to this, that you haven't experienced that or you're on the verge, don't start spending time now. So to get more tactical, like I said, non-negotiables. My phone's on do not disturb. We live in this age where anybody can get a hold of you at any time. Every time I sign someone up, especially if it's one-on-one, they have my number and I tell them, you can text me anytime you want because whenever I don't want to be disturbed, it's on do not disturb. And I'll get back to you within a day or two. And I just set that line. And regret is a motivator for me because I have regretted, like I don't live with these regrets, but I refuse to be that person with the regret of I didn't spend enough time with my wife and kids. I read this book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. It was about this lady that did all this caregiving. She had a lot of deathbed conversations, right? She started to see some patterns of people's top regrets, hence the title. I think about that book a lot because that's real. We're all going to be there one day. But by the time you get there, it's too late. It's too late. I think about that a lot because it makes me take it seriously and not, oh, there's seasons, right? There's some times where it's like, hey, honey, I got to stay up late. So tonight, like I'm going to be up late. I love you. Go watch your show because I got some stuff to do. But I've also found that if I manage my time and I pretend like I'm cramming for a test, I don't have to do that. And really, I use wanting to spend intentional time with them, both while they're here in the morning and while they're here in the evening, as incentive to work hard during the day and to really manage that time well.
Talk to me about that year at the gym. You said you lost the year with your daughter. a lot of business owners, founders, CEOs, there are so many demands on your time. At least that's what we tell ourselves. We have customers we need to service, contracts we need to fulfill, deadlines. It's so easy to tell ourselves this is what we have to do right now, or this is what we need to do to provide for our families. Tell me a little bit about the year of the gym and what made you decide to change what you were doing.
Yeah. And looking back, one thing I realized, I mentioned my faith, and I didn't pray once for that place in the entire year. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh, you just pray and everything's okay. But like for me, what I meant was I never intentionally stayed connected to the fact that I am not in control of my life, and there's a God out there that has good things for me. And so, yes, work hard, but not at the expense of your first ministry, your wife and kids. Like I was so disconnected from that reality. And walking into that gym, I actually helped start that gym on the side while I was coaching at a completely unrelated. It wasn't like conflict of interest. It was just I helped a buddy out. I was working at a commercial gym, so there was no like non-compete issues or anything. But I helped him start it, and then he actually sold it to another friend of mine. I came in, and it honestly had a really bad reputation. It had one of the worst reputations in town just because of how the owner really, he was just in a bad spot in life. He's in a much better place now, but he was just in a bad spot in life and developed a pretty poor rep. There was hardly any members there. And I took 2 pay cuts in that year to keep the gym afloat. And I already wasn't making very much. I had a new mortgage, had a baby on the way. So that was putting a strain on my marriage as well. Because here we had this looming, we're about to have our first kid, and I'm now making even less money. In that year, we completely flipped around. It went from the worst reputation to one of the best gyms in Reno as far as CrossFit gyms go, over double the membership base. Like it really turned around in a year. And I was very proud of that. But I was too proud. I was too proud because about 6 months before it ended, and I'll talk about how it ended here in a sec, my wife was basically begging me to quit because the owner at the time, the owner that it was sold to, was also a friend of mine. But I learned a lot of lessons, as you do. And one of them I learned was you need to have clear, defined boundaries, especially when you're going into something like that with your livelihood and friends. That can mix well if there's clearly defined boundaries and expectations. It does not end well, and it will end very badly if you don't. And that is what I learned. And it ended up being, toxic, as that term is thrown around a lot. It was just a very unhealthy friendship, relationship. But when my wife would ask me to quit, I would say, no, I put in too much work. It's about to turn around. Here it goes. I kept thinking the next turn, here we go. Here it is. But I wasn't really connected to like at what cost. Like that may be true, but what is this costing you? It's costing you your marriage. It's costing you everything. My own physical health, ironically, was not even in that great of a spot. And I was running a gym. And the way it ended was I had already seen that the owner was starting to phase me out a little bit. And I'm not bitter. Like I've done the deep soul work. This was years and years ago. This was 2016. So it was a long time ago. But basically, it just phased me out and let me go one day. Just, hey, I'm letting you go. That was pretty much it. It ended very abruptly. And it was about a year in. And just while we're sorry, just as an encouragement, real quick, while we're on that, to an encouragement, anyone listening, and I'm not afraid to share this. I think a lot of people are, and that's too bad. I've been fired now from 2 jobs that I thought were going to be my forever jobs. The first one was the CrossFit gym, and the second one was where I was the coach of coaches. And the ownership had changed, and I just didn't want to be there anymore. But I got let go. I didn't have the courage to quit. I didn't have the courage to go pursue my own things. I was waiting for that perfect moment, which there isn't one. And so I just want you guys to know a lot of us hide in those things, but you can use that because now you're coming in. This is now my 3rd attempt at running a business. I'm coming into it so much wiser. I know so much more now. And the main thing I know is my level of success will never exceed my level of self-development. And no amount of success is worth sacrificing my family. Like you said, oh, the next client on the call, great. They can leave a message. Right now it's family time. It's that abundance mindset. Like, there will be more people. I don't have to do that right now. So just as an encouragement, I hope that encourages some people. It doesn't define you. Your failures don't define you. They empower you if you let them.
Yeah. Yeah. What were those conversations like? So for instance, just a little backstory on me.
Yeah.
When my wife and I were first married, I had a pilot slot. I was super excited. I was going to be screaming through the skies. I could just see myself in an F-22, ace of aces. I had big dreams. Until that one night, tears coming down her face, my wife asked me to do something different. Because at the time, pilots were deploying every other 6 months, and they could be deployed for a year at a time. And we both wanted a large family. She couldn't see how that would work. And me, I was like, oh no, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Like, you're gonna be gone. We do have those kids. Like, who's gonna be there for them? And so when she finally asked me to give it up, it was a defining moment in my life. I was so upset. It was late in the evening. I got out of bed, threw on my shoes, and went for a 2-hour run. I was so upset, so confused, I couldn't even talk to her. And I just had to get out of the house until finally I calmed down enough. 2 questions came to mind that kind of reoriented me. And that was, what did I really value in life? And 12 years from now, because that's how long my obligation would be. What was it that I will have want to have experienced as a father? And as I started thinking through everything that I might experience being a pilot away from my family, I realized that's not what I wanted. And so I had that 180 flip from being angry, confused to incredibly grateful for her courage to ask me to do something like that.
Wow.
So it's not to say every time I see a plane in the sky, I still have a little bit of like peace in me that mourns that missed opportunity. But at the same time, 2 things can be true: incredibly grateful and at the same time feel just lost still.
Oh, absolutely.
To honor that. It was a sacrifice, but you always give up something of lesser value for greater value. That's what I feel like I did. I feel like those kind of conversations can just be life-changing. It can be defining, and it can be points of conflict. We all experience times when our partner or our spouse asks something of us that may be difficult. So what was your experience like, if you're open to sharing that?
No, of course. I think that's part of the problem is people aren't open to sharing, and that's why people feel alone because they have no one sharing. First of all, just a comment on yours. I would imagine as hard as that was, Zeph, that it probably strengthened your guys' marriage and your trust in her, that she isn't trying to be a dream crusher. Like, she is doing what a strong woman does, which is protect the vital organs of the marriage, because they have their ear to the ground on that stuff better than we do. We're, as men, a lot of times we're hardwired to go out and get, which is great. We need that. And I'm speaking very generally, but they are undefeated in their ability to protect and to be acutely aware of those things. Because I know if I'm able to say that because I trust my wife so much more than I even did before because of that, because I've found that she's only one of the best for me and for us. And it's not this place of, you're just trying to hold me back. No, she's trying to lift us both up.
Yeah.
Maybe she's really smart. Remember, you liked her and you pursued her. Maybe she has some value to offer here. Maybe you should listen. By the way, that's what you promised when you got married.
Yeah.
It's about her, and vice versa, for better or worse. Honestly, man, that first year of my daughter's life was such a blur that I can't really depict specifics about the conversations, but there's been a lot of those. And my wife, she's amazing. An elephant does not stand a chance in the room with her, but it's not like from being an emotional bulldozer. It's like she wants more than anything for us to be united on all fronts. And she will always forego her own comfort in pursuit of that. No one likes having hard conversations, and she's no exception to that. But she always will, because she wants the unity more than she wants her own comfort. And I'm inspired by her every day for that, every single day. Because there's hard conversations all the time. But we talk about being patient with the kids. She does not hesitate to pull me aside, not undress me in front of the kids, but pull me aside and go, hey, you're pretty mean just now. What's up? Are you all right? And obviously I can respond in my pride and go, you don't understand. Try to explain it away. Or I can, like you said, dude, you're here for me. You want what's best for me. You love me. You're coming from a place of love. I need to hear you out because I know that's where you're coming from. So those conversations a lot of times come from her initiating them, because I can get really obsessive about stuff. It's both a gift and a curse, I think, for me. I can get really dialed in on something to the point, like with the CrossFit gym, where I just completely forget everything else. And that's talking about self-development. That's really been the hard thing for me. But important thing is, first of all, breaking the limiting belief that you have to sacrifice those other things in pursuit of one other thing, whether it's your health, your finances, your family, whatever, in pursuit of the other things. But no, actually, you are so much better off by pursuing all of them. And so my wife and I haven't had a lot of those hard conversations lately because we have a lot of regular conversations. Like we're very open communicators that way, I think. More her than me. My propensity, just because of learning that through childhood, is I'm just going to hide in my feelings and I don't want to rock the boat. So I'm not going to bring it up. The problem is it will come up. And a lot of times in ways I don't want and didn't intend to, had I just brought it up initially. And that's what those conversations look like. I've had to really grow in being a lot more proactive in, hey, what you said really pissed me off, or hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. And honestly, speaking up more. When I first started Empower Inc., I had this conversation of, I don't need your permission as much as I need your support to do these things. But the other side of that is becoming a man that she can actually support and trust and not break all these promises all the time. So that's kind of what they look like. Every time I've tried to develop this switch. Every time I start to think about everything I think is wrong with her, I start going, hold on, that's me. That's me projecting. What have I not done? What's left unsaid in me that I am trying to project onto her to not deal with my own shit?
It's the shame blame cycle. We
Yeah.
feel shame inside, kind of guilty, and we push against that and start blaming other people to, no,
Right.
they're the cause for this.
I tell my members all the time, wherever, and you're probably familiar with this, wherever you point the finger at the blame, you're also pointing the power to do something about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's only until you do this that you can actually do something about it.
Yeah.
Like I have a hard enough time changing my own actions. How am I ever going to like, why would I waste time thinking about hers if I have a hard enough time changing mine? Like it's a waste of time.
You can't control
So
her anyway, so.
I've tried, man. I've tried, and that didn't go well.
Hey, Justin, I really appreciate you coming on, being willing to open up, talking about the struggles, the challenges, things that you've learned. I know our audience and me in particular really enjoyed listening and just I'm going to take some of these gold nuggets with me. So
Good.
thank you so much.
Thank you. And to anyone listening, I hope that was encouraging. And my DMs are always open. You can always ask questions and I'm here to help. That's what I love to do. So
What's the best way, if someone's interested in learning more about Empower Inc., what's the best way to get a hold of you? What's the website they can go to?
yeah, website's still under construction, but my social media channels. So I have Justin Cutler Empowering Coaching on YouTube, where I do a lot of shorts, whether it's exercise demonstrations or I strained my calf the other day. So I did a little rehab protocol. So I do a lot of shorts. Instagram is _the mobility guy _. And then TikTok is Empower Inc. Coaching.
Okay.
And then Facebook is just my name. I should probably simplify all those and have just my name on all of them, but that's where they can reach me. You can just Facebook me, honestly, if you want, and shoot me a message, and I love responding.
Okay. Well, I hope if anyone out there needs some help with mobility, with health, fitness, accountability, Justin Cutler is the man at Empower Inc. Coaching. All right, Justin, it was wonderful. We will catch up later, hopefully in a role reversal.
Absolutely, Zaf. Thank you so much for your time, man. I'm grateful.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. See ya.
Bye.